And welcome back to the Credit Authority. Once again, I am your host, Rhonda Kulch, and I am so glad that you've joined us today. We always want to start our shows by thanking our sponsor. So thank you so much to Equity First. If you are experiencing credit and or financial challenges, feel free to reach out to any one of their trained professionals. They are bilingual and nationwide and ready to take your call. They could be reached at 631-714-4822. And with that said, back by popular demand is Mitch Goldberg of Client First Strategy. How are you?
Oh, you are so kind with that introduction. Thank you very much.
Well, you've been on you've been on the show so many times, and I think what I love the most is that you really have your pulse on what's happening in the market. So we bring on people that talk about real estate and the wealth management in general or retirement planning. But what I love about bringing you on and the value add that you give to my show is that you're talking about the pulse of what's happening in our market now, right? Like as we speak. So between your show and my show, I learn so much every time. So where do we have going on? I feel like do we even have hope? Enlighten me.
There's hope. Let's first address something because we always talk about, the market comes back, the market will come back, it always comes back. And that is true. But there are two kinds of investors that I want to address. There's the kind that are invested in, broadly diversified investments. Okay? Doesn't mean, diversification is a strategy you use to mitigate risk, but as we know, it doesn't necessarily protect your portfolio from going down in a generally down market. Okay. But the diversified people typically come back. The ones who are invested in individual stocks. Individual stocks don't always come back, but the averages have always come back. So when you hear about the market comes back, don't worry, and someone looks at you like you're crazy, it's probably because that investor is in individual stocks. Okay? So not all hope is lost. This happens on the big picture of things. This is not that terrible of a year. It's down. We've had much worse years than this. This comes back, and your typical bull market percentage gains have always been much larger than your typical bear market losses, which is why the stock market has gone up over time.
And you and I have spoken about clients in the past and who's a good fit to really be a client for Client First. And it goes back to also, I believe, risk tolerance and how much money somebody has to invest. So when you are identifying a client that wants to get involved in the market, what advice are you, or I should say, what are you putting in place to protect that client and maybe an investment that they're looking to make with your guidance?
I think the number one reason to use a financial advisor, protect you from yourself. Because investors, we'll put it this way, human tendencies, emotions are your enemy. And having the third party coach / accountability partner, / personal finance and investment expert on your side could I feel be hugely beneficial, which is why we have a financial advisor industry. Okay. What I look for in an investor is this. It's almost like not necessarily what I look for, but I look for red flags. If somebody has a low credit score, for example, they're probably not meant to be a client. No, because they have other issues that have to be fixed as their base, as their personal finance base of education, their base of stability. If they are living hand to mouth, they're probably not ready to be a client. Okay? And there's a lot of things that people have to do to become a client. I've seen this many times before where people inherit money or they win money in a lottery and they lose the money. And the reason is if you have poor personal finance habits with a little bit of money, they're just going to be magnified with a lot of money. people don't suddenly become smart about money because they have more of it. Okay.
I like
where
that.
lottery winners lose money. That's why they lose all their money. That's why professional athletes get a lot of money when they're young, go broke.
Yep.
Because, it doesn't matter if you're bad with $1,000 or if you're bad with $10 million. If you're bad with money, if you don't have the personal finance skills, it's not, you're going to blow through the money.
And I understand that. Just recently I was speaking with a new client that did have a credit hiccup. And he was so proud to say to me, I'm so excited. I've put money aside and I'm trying to figure out where in the market to put my money. And he's having this very intelligent conversation with me about, I think I'm going to, maybe do some stock. I think I'm going to look into putting some dollars into crypto. And finally, at the end of the conversation, I said, this sounds I'm so excited for you, right? Like you're always happy when somebody has pulled themselves out of a bad place. But I said to him, so how much are you looking to invest in the market? Because here, right, as a business professional, I'm thinking maybe I could make a connection, right? Like we're all about, who can we refer business to? And he said, I have $3,000. So my entire demeanor changed, not because it wasn't a lot of money. It's a lot of money to him. So when you have clients that don't have a large amount to invest, where do you generally tell them to start?
First couple of things to get to that point is, do they have credit card debt? Okay. Do they have at least something in the bank? So if they need to fall back on their money, if they are an hourly wage earner and they're out for 2 weeks because they have COVID, do they have money to get them through it so they don't get booted from their apartment? That sort of thing. After that, where would they put the money? The next question is, well, are you prepared to leave this money invested for the long term, or is this money that you're thinking about you would use if you needed it? Well, I would use it if I needed it. Well, then that money is not really meant for the market. That's more like an emergency fund.
Correct.
Okay. So then that's the next question. After that comes, okay, if you can leave it for the long term, we need to look at the most effective way to invest it. And that might be in an IRA, a Roth IRA. Maybe, there's tax advantages to those types of accounts. Not necessarily just putting it into a standard taxable brokerage account. So we look at these things. And then the last thing is, what should the money go into? I won't say in your show if they should put it in whatever, but if they're thinking they finally have $3,000 and they're thinking about maybe crypto, maybe some pandemic stocks or something, I kind of, give myself a little bit of a migraine from clenching my jaw so hard when they say that.
Okay.
But to each his own, because it's, I always want to create a judgment-free zone, so I just want to point out the risks. But, that stuff, the crypto, that sort of thing, that comes later. That's for the money you could really afford to lose, your gambling money. But when someone works so hard to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps and finally has something to show for it, that's precious money. It's sacred money. I don't care if it's $3,000 or $300,000 or more.
Right.
It's like you said, it's important to them. And I want them to do it in a way that works for them. But I don't want them to just, piss it away. And when you get into these very speculative areas, that's for your gambling money. That's like, oh, I've done everything I could do. I have some extra money that I could blow on speculative stuff. Then you could talk to me about crypto, whatever, you want to do that, but not yet for that person. I
think also it's important when we have clients that may not have an abundance of wealth, that they also look into, at best, even just a term life insurance policy. God forbid of an emergency, it's no longer about themselves, it's about their family. Is that something that you also talk about with your clients?
Yes. We were just talking about just for investing purposes,
sure.
But the full financial plan, the wealth plan has to be, do you have yourself health insurance? Okay. Do you yourself have a disability policy? Do you yourself have life insurance? Who are you responsible for taking care of? Okay. And it's, obviously we can go into this much, much deeper. So yeah, it's all part of the plan. And I'll tell you this, people spend more time planning a 3-day getaway weekend than they do their own, financial plans for the next 12 months.
Oh my God. And you know what? You're 100% right. And you know what? We are finishing out 2022. So for everybody who might be tuned in today, if you are looking for an amazing action plan for 2023, consider reaching out to our guest, Mitch Goldberg with Client First Strategy. Mitch, how do they reach you?
They can reach me by calling me direct, 631-920-6622. And they can reach me through my website, which is clientfirststrategy.com. And it's all spelled out, FIRST.
You got it. I love it. Thanks so much for joining us again. You are an animal. You keep up with the amazing work that you're doing. And
I'm a fanimal.
You're a fanimal?
Financial animal.
Well, you stay tuned, my fanimal friend, and we are going to be bringing on our next guest.